All right. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. My name is Wade T. Lightheart from the Prosperity and Health Alliance. We do this every single Monday night, and today we're going to talk about some very, very controversial items. I feel it's important with everything going on in the world that somebody speaks out and talks about this thing. I'm not here to put any particular group down or any organization or make a statement about race relations or things like that, or anything like that. That's not the time and place for it. I can say that I am doing a special meeting on Thursday with my business, my company, to talk about kind of what our brothers and sisters in the Black community are feeling emotionally, and what has got this thing to such a boiling point, so I can understand and connect with that. But I want to talk about something beyond that, more importantly, in this current climate, because what I'm seeing play out, I've got a lot of questions. I've got a lot of questions about what's happening in the world. And I got to say, I don't know about you, but somehow I feel like we're getting played. I feel like let's just back the truck up. Let's get around the current events, and let's just talk about what's going on in the world in the last 4 years or 5 years or 6 years or whatever it's been, and see the array of events. And then this polarization that's happened in the media. I can have a conversation, I can go onto a Facebook post, or I can have a conversation with almost anybody, anywhere, anytime. And I can tell you within about 10 minutes who they're listening to, what sites they see, and where they're getting their information. I know there's a lot of regurgitation of information, and very few people are actually looking at the opposite end of the argument spectrum. And I encourage you folks to, if you understand mathematical algorithms of social media, you have to realize that we are becoming prisoners of our selections through mathematical models that continually to give yourself and take you down more and more of what you think. And what this leads to is an acceleration of confirmation bias. In other words, if everybody in your sphere is saying the same thing, it must be true. If everybody is talking the same way, it must be true. And this is how totalitarian regimes control narratives and control people. This is what happened in the Soviet Union with the proletariat and the bourgeoisie, the revolution that happened there. 100 million people died, 3 generations of people living in abject poverty and starvation. Then we had the revolution, Chairman Mao. What do you have? The Cultural Revolution. They took away the culture stuff. They took the spirituality away from the great Chinese culture, and they enslaved the population to a dictator regime. What happened in Nazi Germany was the exact same thing. They identified a certain group of people as the bad people. They put little stars on them to identify and humiliate them, and then they started hauling them off to death camps. And they did it under the concept that somebody was a victim, right? The Russian Revolution happened because the population was supposedly a victim of the czars, and the people that came in became worse than those folks. I'm not here to. That's the summation of it. If you want to get into it, read Solzhenitsyn's Gulag Archipelago, and then how the public actually kept those in power by shaming people, by using guilt, by using these kind of overt dynamics to control people. Well, what happened in Chairman Mao's revolution? They did the exact same thing. Millions of people died for the great leader, and getting rid of the culture, getting rid of the historical aspects, getting rid of thousands of years of cultural greatness, and eliminating it, and creating these kind of work situations and these centralizations of government. And in both of those countries, you had the biggest disparity of wealth. People talk about the disparity of wealth in North America. It's way worse in those countries. Do the statistics. And we're here for prosperity. We're here for health. We're here to go to somewhere else in the world. And that's what we're going to focus on. But we got to understand the problem and how we're getting played. And in Nazi Germany, they identified a particular group of people and blamed them for all the horrors that had happened in Germany. And that started another world war. The tune of all these concepts of identifying a group of people as the problem and another group of people of the victim leads to massive conflict. And that conflict becomes so bad, it gives rise to tyrannical leaders that then dictate from a centralized moment of what's going to happen, and they strip away the sense and vitality and essence and spirituality and prosperity and independent thinking and thought in all these areas. And when I'm looking at the series of events that have recently transpired, I've got a lot of questions. I don't know the answer. Do you really know the answer? Are you really sure that the whole investigation that happened with Donald Trump was accurate? According to the recent research that we had 3 years, it's not. No, I don't care if you're a Trump supporter. I don't care if you're not a Trump supporter. But how come all of a sudden that you had the security agency of the government saying one thing under closed doors testification and saying another thing on the public airways? I think that's a breach of trust. Okay, then that gets over. Okay, then we've got the impeachment. Well, that doesn't work out. And then we've got the COVID response. And you know what? They haven't even really got clear about the numbers, the people that really died from COVID, the people that died from the other things. I'm not here to say that, you know, bad. I'm not here to make anybody wrong or anybody like feel bad, or I'm not here to condemn people, but I've just got some real questions about how this whole narrative is reading. Like I'm asking questions about, does this make sense? What happened to Jeffrey Epstein? How come there's no media about that? How come there's no media about the 130 million people that have been added to the starvation list worldwide that from the COVID response? Most of those people are impoverished nations of the world. We don't hear about this in the mainstream. Meanwhile, I've got reports from my friends around the world of starvation happening in other countries, countries in South America, countries in Africa, and infection rates that are going wild over there. Meanwhile, we're arguing about other things. And then what happens? Well, then guess what? Here's the reality of what happens. Then we have the COVID response that we've been locked down. What is it wiped out? It's wiped out anybody that's got a mom and pop business, anybody that's got a business that, you know, like for years I've run businesses. If this had happened to my business like 5 years ago, would have killed us. And you know, there's a lot of big businesses that would say the same thing. If you are in even a great business, a growing business, and this kind of thing happens to you, and what happens? You get taken out. And now, if that's not, we've got the COVID response, right? I'm looking at some of these things. Think about this, okay? We have that. There's questions about it. There's countries that didn't lock down. That doesn't seem that bad for them. Now everything's going to get blamed. There's supposedly this thing that happened in China. Now there's a big war machine that's working up in the thing. There's an economic questions coming up about where the money's coming from or what state of the economy is. What are we going to do about the houses? What are we going to do about the loans and the mortgages? And right now, everybody's on the dole. Everybody's getting some money to sit there. And here's what they're doing. They're keeping, during this lockdown, they kept you from opening your business. I'm reading this. They arrested and summoned you for protesting against the governor or the government or your provincial leader or whoever happened to be. They denied your children going to graduation programs. My dad was in a critical heart situation. He's in the hospital for 3 weeks. His wife of 60 years can't go and see him during this time. I couldn't go see him. I can't even travel to go see him. Like, I can't follow any kind of process on there. We've got a whole bunch of questions, and they banned anybody that's going against the narrative that's being dictated to us. And then all of a sudden, we have what I see as what looks to me on video, frankly, as a ritualistic killing. Let's just call it what it is. It was the sickest, grossest, most disgusting thing I've ever seen on the internet of this person, this Black individual. And I know he's got a checkered past. I know he's got trouble with drug addiction and was involved in. I'm not here to comment on that person as who he was or what he is. It has like, nobody deserves to be treated like that. And I have a hard time believing that, you know, I know a lot of police officers. I don't even know how many police officers. And you know what? These are good people. These are respectable people. These are people that put their life on the line. And believe me, when people come to your door with guns, or people steal your property, or people threaten you with violence, who do you turn to? you turn to the police. Now, I'm not here to say that we do not have some bad cops, and I'm not here to say that some of our brothers and sisters who are in Black communities and things like that are not fearful of them, and that they are being profiled and they're getting stopped more often, or they're having pain. I'm not here to say that isn't the case. I believe what they're saying to me is true. But how come all of a sudden in the middle of this COVID thing, we can't go anywhere else, we can't go to our business and stuff, but we see this sort of ritualistic, sick, disgusting killing on there, and it's videotaped, and there's all these kind of weird things out there. And then, of course, when you have people, and I did a video about this yesterday, when you take away the safeguards of society, the outlets of society, when people when they don't feel secure about their health, they don't secure about their finances, they don't have the outlets for violence, which has been managed through the conflict that we have in sports, and we're not able to find a higher reason by going to our places of worship and spirituality. What do you have? You have a medium. You have a hotbed of people feeling anxiety and disconnected from the ideas of society. And then you put this sick, ritualistic killing on the thing, and kablooey, it goes absolutely ballistic. Of course it does. And all of a sudden, everybody's now allowed to come out onto the streets. Everybody is allowed to protest. And then in the middle of this protest, right, they got a bunch of bricks being dropped off of these homes. Don't we have cameras? Don't we have cameras watching the bricks? Oh, or is it like the cameras that was in the Jeffrey Epstein thing? Oh, it's like the cameras that is in the Princess Diana stuff, right? Like, how come the cameras always fail? Like, how come we don't see the people dropping off the bricks and the rocks? And then who are these people that looting? Are they really protesters? I don't think so. I don't think these people are protesters. I think these people are from other places or other reasons. And who benefits from the chaos? Who's shorting the market? Who, and then some of the public figures that are going out there and expressing the challenges and division within our racial things, and the inequality between certain segments of our population. Well, guess what? And people are marching out in the street, and then there's this whole obsession with shame, and this whole obsession with guilt, and personally, this whole idea, this concept that is going out and around that is labeled as white privilege. What that sets up is the same thing as the proletariat and the bourgeoisie. In other words, if I take on the role of a victim and I've got to identify someone as a perpetrator to my problems. Now, I'm not saying that there isn't victims and there isn't perpetrators, but I think we're focusing on the wrong victims and the wrong perpetrators, because you know what? We are all citizens of the world. We are all humans, and what's been put upon us is some great big hoax. I'm telling you, something doesn't add up here. And now we're seeing in every public avenue, like all of a sudden, everybody can go out and go to the collective funerals and stuff, and there's these eulogies and stuff that's happening. Like, what happened to the COVID virus all of a sudden? And you know what they're gonna say? You know what's gonna happen? They're gonna open everything else, and then they're gonna blame the COVID, the rebound or whatever evolution of that is. Well, now that everybody rioted, and now that everybody protested, and everybody broke this stuff down, and we stood up for a better world or a better place and all that sort of stuff. And I'm all for those things. I'm all for, the right things. But the bottom line is it comes down to education. It comes down to an environment of culture. And you know what? I don't think we've been seeing these problems, and they're getting better since the 60s. They're not where they've been. We're certainly a lot further ahead in the 60s. But if you look at the total crime, if you look at the total killings, if you look at the total violence in America today and around the world, it's on a rapid decline. And if you look at the prosperity around the world, it's on the massive incline. But there is no place for violence. There's no and I'm seeing this rationalization. Well, it's okay if property gets smashed up for the thing. Well, you know what? Is it okay for bombs to drop on other people in the world because that's what's going to move things forward? We got to have a conscious revolution here. And what I'm seeing is this is a triggering event for us to have an opportunity to have an explosion of confidence. We've got to move away from violence. We got to move away from labeling. And it's a very slippery slope when we identify as a victim or we expect somebody else. Listen, I understand that there is some very dark days in the history of this country with slavery and stuff, but slavery has been around for 1,000 years. My ancestors were slaves. Should we all be asking Italians for reparations because, you know, three people in Rome was enslaved? Should we be asking for reparations to the Egyptians because they enslaved a bunch of people? The whole Slovakian history, all was slaves. Like the Slavic cultures were slave cultures by some other things. And then we had the formation of the country of the United States was brought forth by slaves, because before slavery was around, they just killed people. They just wiped you out, but then they sold you for cash. And, you know, it's really, and I'm not condemning, I'm not saying that any of that's good. It's all bad. The historical history of every single person in this world, we can trace back injustices. We can trace back victimhood. We can trace back that, and we can play small. And if you tell your kids that you're a victim, if you tell your kids that you're not good enough, if you tell your kids that you're not equal, you're going to have problems. Because, you know, I grew up in an environment where there were racial tensions between French and English. Most people don't know this outside of Canada. And there were people that believed that the French were being oppressed. There was people in my community that felt that if they didn't speak the local dialect of French, not what their teachers told, they couldn't get government jobs. And there was this whole conflict, and it was horrible. And because I was English, I was branded as a racist. I wasn't racist. I wasn't taught that way. I wasn't born that way. But these tensions I explored, and it's one of the reasons I left. I want to get behind it. And then I've gone to another country, and I've been, you know, held up at gunpoint, and I've been robbed because somebody saw me as privileged. Somebody saw me as an opportunity. I have been treated differently because I was a minority in some of these countries, and I was a target in some of these countries, both from a government side and also from a personal safety side. You know what? I'm not a victim. I made a choice. I did that. Thankfully, I got out of it alive. I learned some lessons, and it gave me a little bit of insight of what it's like to be singled out because of the color of your skin. And one of the things that I want to illustrate about Martin Luther King, who I've studied extensively, and Gandhi, who I've studied extensively, and Nelson Mandela, who I studied extensively. My favorite speech of all time is "I Have a Dream." I love that speech. I think it is one of the most eloquent visions ever of the history of human culture, and came at a time when we needed to hear it. And with the great Martin Luther King, he said something really important. And this is a very interesting component. He said, "I have a dream that one day that people will be judged not by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. Not by that they won't be judged by their skin. They will be judged by the content of their character." Well, let me get this straight. He didn't say that people aren't going to be judged. Look, you go online, you click on a thing. Somebody's beautiful. You click on it. That's a judgment, right? You go to a business event, right? There's somebody that has something that you want. You're making a judgment. You are looking at your peers in the group. You're making a judgment. You're making comments about which political party you like, which indoctrination you're going to do, which book you're going to read, which movies you're going to watch, which clothes that you're going to wear. These are all forms of judgment and rational thought. And when you suspend all rational thought, you are easily manipulated. You know what? We've all been pissed off and angry. We've all been upset. We've all had situations where we made judgments about other people and found out later that we weren't right and felt horrible about it. We also have been judged unfairly. We know what it's like to be condemned in your community, inside your business, maybe because of your race, maybe because of your social economic status. Maybe you couldn't get into a restaurant that you wanted because you didn't wear the right clothes. You had flip-flops on instead of shoes. You had shorts instead of jeans. You didn't dress properly for an event. You didn't have the right credentials on your resume. You didn't go to the right schools. You didn't have the right friends. You didn't have the right. We can all collect all those injustices, all of them. And people, depending on how emotionally activated they become, or how frustrated they become, or how often they collect those, what happens is there's a buildup of resentment. There is a buildup of frustration. There's a buildup of lack. There's a level of deep-seated emotional stuff. And what do? You activate the amygdala. This is the lower emotional brain center inside your body, which then takes over your forebrain and uses violence, that uses condemnation, that uses anger, that uses all of these negative things, shame, apathy, guilt, fear, pride, desire, all these lower class emotions is exactly what media is paying on you. Because guess what? If you watch a great movie, what do you need in order to say that was a great movie? You need a conflict. You need a good guy. You need a bad guy. You need a story. Think of all the best movies. Think of all the best movies you ever watched. Complex plots, big adversaries, a lot of conflict, things going on. You got your protagonist and you got your antagonist. And the better the antagonist, the better the story is when the protagonist wins, right? So, and you identify this and all this sort of stuff. And then they got these weird movies that have been coming out with all sorts of crazy violence, like Joker and all these sort of things, where it's just random craziness. And then you've got all this programming of the population. Meanwhile, I'm over here in Sedona. I'm seeing satellites fly over the place that there's no connection to. Just gridded out satellites. I don't know why they're happening. They're happening. We saw it the other night. There was a group of us in there. We don't know what they are. Right now, we're having the world at war between China and the United States. We're having a whole thing on economic meltdown or whatever. Meanwhile, people are rioting in the streets. People are damaging stuff. People are starving in their houses. People don't know where their works are. They don't know if their business is going to open, right? We've got propaganda on one side. Things are getting better. We got the other ones. It's the end of the world and people are screaming for change. But where's the solutions? Is anybody out there, when they're out there protesting and stuff, what is the solution? What is the answer? What is the question that you want to have? What are the proposed solutions that are out there that may suck? They just throw something out there, give a shot, give a chance. Don't come to the thing complaining without some ideas about how we resolve things. You know, we put so much pressure on our political system. We put so much pressure on our police departments and our enforcement agencies. And whether it was the immigration issue, whether it's a policing issue locally, or whether it's an international thing with our military, we are putting all this pressure of decision-making on these people who putting their life on the line every day for strangers or for ideas so that we can have some semblance of freedom. And no, we do not have the ultimate level of freedom that we would like to have. We are moving towards a better place. But in the meantime, I'm not seeing it. I've seen us lose our right to assemble. I've seen our right to free speech. I've seen the institutions editing what we have been saying and taking down people who have a contrary point of view on all these different things and promoting things that create conflict and disarray and anger and frustration. I'm seeing friendships blow up. I'm seeing business and fighting. I'm seeing coworkers, questioning each other. I'm seeing people look at each other with suspicion. People scared to hug each other and give a kiss or a high five or go to a fitness center or go to a spiritual place or go to their business to make an honest living and provide people with services, provide people with opportunities, provide people with health, because that's what we're about. We're here to provide people about opportunities, health, and prosperity, because when you got something to lose, you're less likely to cause a problem. You know what's happening with all these people? The riots are the perfect storm. People are sitting home getting checks. People have been locked up forever. People are starting to go stir crazy. And then you just put on this ritualistic killing of people and expect things not to go kablooey? Of course they are. Of course anybody that sees this knows this is horrible. Of course everybody recognizes that there is injustice in the world. There's 800,000 police officers in the United States, and here is a bad one. Here is one that's done something wrong. And you know what? Let's say there's 1%. Let's say 1% of the police officers today out of the 800,000 are bad. Let's say 2%. Okay, let's find a way to clean that up. But the vast majority of people are right. It's the same thing as the COVID. The mass majority of people aren't going to have a problem, right? And the mass majority of people are going to suffer from the economic consequences. I already illustrated the 130 million people that's been asked to the starvation list. We're seeing that big box companies stay open and mom and pop stores that stay closed. Does that make sense to you? Do you have some questions here? What are we going to do? Well, let me tell you what I think I'm going to do. And this is what I have been doing. Number one, I'm having community dialogues with the people I care about from all ends of the spectrum. The people that are most at risk, the people that are most upset about this inside our Black communities, particularly who have some legitimate issues to bring up. And I'm here to listen to that and go forward with that. I'm also listening to people like myself in the white community that we're feeling a little bit weird, right? If we support what's going on, we're condemned at white privilege. To me, white privilege seems like a label that seems very much like the N-word. it's the N word for the white people, right? It's like, I mean, I can't help that I'm white no more than you can help that you're black. Does that make me an evil person? That make me a bad person? That gives me some sort of level stuff. Okay, I have privilege. Should I be taxed? What percentage of that? How do we measure that? How does that get us to a place of collection like Martin Luther King, where we're judging by the content of someone's character, not the color of their skin? I don't know, but I can tell you what, throwing bricks through a window and stealing computers isn't it. And people dropping off bricks and rocks in convenient places and no cameras see this, that's not it. Keeping people away from their institutions and their businesses, that's not it, okay? Creating division and censoring people, that's not it. That's against the constitutional freedoms that we're all going for. I get if people don't want I get if people don't feel identified with the flag. I get that. I understand that. You don't feel that you got the same rights and freedoms. Power to you. Knock yourself out. You have the freedom to stand up. You have the freedom to step down. That's the beauty. You have the freedom to go to church. You got the freedom to be an atheist. That's fine. You've got the freedom to speak your voice, and if you're going to speak your voice, guess what? You have to be able to run the risk of pissing people off. That's just part of the nature. People get offended. If I get offended because someone's asking me tough questions, well, that's the nature of free speech. Just like if I ask tough questions or if I make straight statements, guess what? And in order to get to somewhere, whether that's a personal relationship or that's a business relationship, okay, guess what? You got to have uncomfortable conversations. You got to have uncomfortable, if you want to embrace excellence in your life, if you want to win in life, if you want to have victory in your life, you have got to have uncomfortable conversations with yourself on a daily basis. If you want to get to the next level of business or to weed out the dysfunction that's happening in your business or the things that aren't working, you got to have uncomfortable conversations. And if you are going to get to a place where we have Martin Luther King's ideology of everybody, like I have a dream that one day the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will sit down on at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream, and that men and women will be judged by the content of their character, not the color of their skin. If we are able to get to that point, we have to have uncomfortable conversations. And just because somebody is ignorant to your plight or your sense of victimhood does not make them a bad or evil person. It just makes them ignorant. They don't know any better. And is not the way to invite them to a greater vision. Condemning, if I'm sitting here and condemning, black people for something, that doesn't get me any closer. If they're condemning white people for something, that doesn't get me closer, or Spanish people or indigenous people. And if we're going to go back to, okay, well, my ancestors of 500 years ago were enslaved. Well, mine were 5,000 years ago, or mine was like, look at the history. How many of our ancestors went through war? How many went through abject poverty? How much went through them through unjust things? You probably don't even know who your great-grandfather was. 99% of the population don't know who their great-grandfather was or their great-grandmother was, where they're from, what's the history, what was the culture, why the heck did they leave the country they were in to come over here on a boat where they risked their lives and stuff? Who knows? Why did people walk out of the savannas of Africa thousands of years ago? Because we're all from the same place. We're all from the same race. We're all part of the same human race, for Pete's sakes. Like, at what point do you become this race over that race? You see, these type of divisions, these type of conversations that are being sowed through our media and sowed through our educational institutions, guess what? They're designed to create division. They're designed to create conflict. And we need to have a conversation about the human race. The human race and what's going on with the humans. Everybody of every race has been locked down. Everybody of every race has been suffering from the economic consequences of what's going. Everybody from every race is subjected to war, to poverty, to disease, to death, to old age, and to suffering. The commonalities of suffering are universal through the human system, and they vary in various degrees. But while we're concentrated on the greatest economic prosperity culture in the world and the conflicts that are happening with us and our responses, meanwhile, there are millions of our brothers and sisters dying in Africa and South America and in parts of Asia and stuff because of the consequences of the choices that we made with our institutions and our political systems. And we're focusing on what's left and what's right here, but it doesn't matter to the people over there. And guess what? We need to find a way for global prosperity and to find victory for everybody on the planet. So what do you do in order to do that? Number one, if you want to get anywhere in life, okay, you got to focus on personal self-development, and that means personal accountability. You need to get a mentor. You need to get a vision. You need to find somebody that has better ideas than you do, and those ideas are empowering, and those ideas have nothing to do with being a victim. You have to be able to turn I'm not saying that you're not a victim, but you know what? A victim does not have the energy to transform and become a victor. Okay, you become the guy that kind of gathers up in a gang, and you know, every gang that ever exists in the world say there's somebody beating us up, and that's how they rationalize violence against other people. It doesn't work. If you know, Gandhi said, if it's an eye for an eye, then the whole world will be blind. Nelson Mandela said, if I condemn my captors, you know what? I become like them. I'm not going to lower myself to that standard. If people are going out and condemning people of another race, guess what? You're the problem. It's your condemnation. It's your negative judgment. It's you are saying that I'm a victim of this group or this person or this political party. And there's a lot of division going on. And in order to come back as a victor, you need unification. Unification of your thoughts, unifications of your actions, and unification of your feelings. Because if you get those three things in line to a vision inside of your life, guess what? You become unstoppable. Nobody gets in your way. You will transcend everything. You'll see every obstacle as an opportunity. You will see every challenge as an invitation to find the greatness within yourself. If you see that if you get out of the role of being a victim of anything and you're going to be a victor, and that you are going to win, and you are going to find, you are not going to complain about your circumstances. You are going to transcend from them. For every person that goes down in the dumps and loads things up, there's another person that is rising up. If you look at the stories of inspiration from every single community that has legitimate beasts, these individuals who've risen to the top, the Oprah Winfreys of the world, you know, the athletes like Shannon Sharps of the world, who is one of my favorite guys, and he's really emotional about this on this thing, and he's going on, but when he's condoning looting as part of the action, I got a problem with that, Shannon. I love you, brother. I love your show, and I'm not going to say that that's okay. And when you're given the history of what's happened in this community, and you're saying this has been happening to us for 400 years, yes, that's true, but that's not the energy that's going to get us to another place, because you know what? I feel like suddenly that I got to play down. I can't say my heart. I can't speak freely. I can't stand up with that. And you know what? That creates division. And, you know, normally I'm sitting there going, do I want to watch this guy anymore? Normally I watch this guy because I find him one of the most inspirational characters in the world. I don't care about what color he is. It's amazing. He's an amazing athlete. He came out of an amazing situation. Him and his brother, a horrible situation. And he transcended it and became one of the greatest people in the world, and then made another career change. And I can tell you what, he didn't do that by playing a victim. He didn't do that by do that. He's out there. He worked on himself. He worked on self-development. He rose above it. Arnold Schwarzenegger, another guy. He was in a situation in a country that got a war on him. His father was aligned with the Nazi party. Okay, he was in a horrible place. Everybody was depressed after the war. They were impoverished. They didn't have anything. Everybody was depressed. He hated that area. But you know what he did? He got a dream. He found himself. He took himself into a gym. He found some mentors. He started training, and he became the world champion at 23. And then he moved on from that and became the highest paid actor in that. He didn't see that he was a victim of a bad language and a bad accent, and he had all these stupid muscles because there was no room for them. He used those until he became the best person in the world. He became the Terminator, and then he went from the Terminator, and guess what he did? He went on and became the Governator. Okay, he's seen that as an opportunity, and he turned his political career, and he used that career to become leader of the fourth state in the world. He's one of the inspirations and one of my mentors. And in his message to me when I was a 15-year-old kid suffering from moving away and the unfairness of the medical system, the unfair of the political system, and the racial tensions in my world, and being away from my home, and my sister dying on stuff, he was the guy that said, you know what, with positive
positive attitude, hard work, and self-discipline, guess what? You too can rise to the top. And you know what? I followed that and I lived by it. And I didn't have genetics and I didn't have the ability and I didn't have the natural talents and I wasn't the smartest guy in the world. But you know what? I stuck with that program and I managed to get to the world championship and I leveraged that into a business and I took that business and I partnered up with a guy that knew something about internet marketing. I didn't know anything about internet marketing. He knew about it. And we fought and we argued and we had uncomfortable conversations and we built a world-renowned brand around the world. Did I have failures? Did I have step backs? Did I fall back? Was I held at gunpoint? Was I imprisoned? Did I have people going after me because of my race, of my color, of my decisions, of my mistakes and all stuff? Absolutely I did, but I can't focus on those things. You got to keep moving forward. And it's the same thing in your business. You got to focus on self-development. You got to work on yourself every single day. You have got to put positive inside your work. You got to see yourself as a victor, not as a victim, and not as a victim that's dominating others. You need to dominate the negative aspects of your personality. You need to dominate the programming that is keeping you down. You need to get away from the divisive things that divide your mind, divide your heart, and divides your spirit into a way that dissipates your energy. You gotta upgrade your skills. You gotta take this time that's being put away and you gotta upgrade your skills. Whatever it is that you want to be. If you're in business, you need to upgrade your sales skills or you need to upgrade your business skills. If you're working for somebody, you need to talk to your boss and say, hey, you know what? How do I get ahead? How do I do the next thing? What would it take for me to kind of get up in another place in this business, right? Read books about people that went from the bottom to the top. Read books about people that got shut out of one business and started another one. Read books about the people that, if you look at the history books of every single person that ever did anything in the world meaningful, every single one, they had hardship, they had injustice, they had challenges, they had crap that happened to them that was unfair, unjust, unright. And you know what? They rose above it. They rose above it till they got to a position of influence, and at a position of influence, they were able to implement the change they wanted, and they were able to implement the change because they had the wisdom of how they overcome it. They didn't demand for someone else to fix the problem. They didn't demand that someone else was holding them down. They didn't demand that they didn't have it. They demanded more of themselves. They demanded more of themselves every day. They looked in the mirror and they upgraded their skills and they learned their abilities and they found the people that have it. We live in the greatest time in the world. We live in the best time on the planet. You can access the greatest minds, the greatest intelligence, and what are you doing? You're sending stupid videos on TikTok. You're doing these little jumpy things and trying to get more followers when you could be reading the greatest philosophers in the world, the greatest psychologists in the world, the greatest purveyors of business, the greatest of commerce, the greatest of minds and spirituality. You can access the greatest aspects of humankind ever before. There's no excuse for anybody. There's no excuse for anybody in this country to not pick up their phone and instead of turning on the conflict, start turning on the information that's going to take them to a new level. And then what? What do you got to do? At some point in time, no matter how good you get physically, no matter how much money that you go out and make or how much accolades that you're going to get in the world, you're going to end up in a crisis. And you know what that crisis is? That crisis is going to be about your soul, your spirituality, what's inside of you, the thing that makes us the essence of connection of everything and other thing, the fragment of the universal consciousness that we call souls that's in your spirit and inside yourself. You know what? So why not get to work on your spirituality in the head is right now? Why don't you spend a little bit of time, stop scrolling on the division and buying into this corrupt, emotionally draining and activating and divisive system that is out there trying to screw you over and hook you into some program that is going to take you off your vision track. You got to be like an Olympic athlete. You got to focus your mind on what you want to do. You need to collect your mind, your body, and your soul in one unified vision to get yourself forward. So focus on the greatest people. Find someone that inspires you spiritually, because you know what? All of the great religions, whatever they happen to be, all the great spiritual masters see humanity as a whole. See us, the different colors of the rainbow. Is red better than blue? Is purple better than yellow? Of course not. They're different frequencies, different vibes, and I enjoy the whole spectrum, and you can too. And when you have spirituality in your world, guess what? Everything in your mind starts to calm down, and you're able to focus your mind, and you're able to focus your physiology on the things that you need to do. And guess what? So every single day, you got to put effort into your body effort into your mind, and effort into your soul before you go out there and see that. And when you do those three things, guess what? You start to see the division. You start to see the dysfunction. You start to see the sows of victimhood and perpetrator that's being propagated onto you by the institutions that are funded by organizations that are into technological tyranny, that are here to take you out, to take you from your vision, to distract you, to hold you down, and to program you that you're not good enough, you can't do it, you can't make it, you're something that's not good, and somebody is to blame for it, and we got to get reparations, we got to get demands, somebody owes us something. Listen, you're on the planet here for a very short time. Nobody owes you nothing. Not your parents, not your community, not your grandparents, not your brother, not your sister, not your friends, not your business. Nobody owes you nothing. You got life, you got a shot, and you know what? Wherever you land, that's where you landed. You can't change that. You can't demand that somebody change it. We look at the lottery winners. How does it work? We look at the people that were given something for being a victim, and you track their lives. It doesn't work out good. It doesn't feel good. You don't feel empowered. You're not able to make change in your computer. You're not able to inspire people because you got a big check for being a victim, or you got some right for being a victim. You become that by becoming such a magnanimous person that you inspire people by your very presence. You inspire people by your words. You create unification instead of division. You see the aspects, the best aspects, the essence of humanity pervading every culture, every system, every business, every culture. That's what this whole world is about. And that's what we mean at the Prosperity and Health Alliance. We're focusing on prosperity. We're focusing on health. There's a few things that you need to look at: opportunity, unity, and community. You need an opportunity for people to be able to get a better level of health, to get a level of finances, and you need an opportunity for a better sense of community on people who are moving upward and are seeing the connection and unity. And the best way to do that is to create prosperity for you and yourself. Throwing a brick through somebody's business, telling somebody else that they got to think a certain way or that their opinion is wrong and yours is right, that doesn't win anybody over. What you got to do is become so good at who you are and so amazing at who you are and speaking so well about everybody around the world, and people that see you go, you know what, man, I got to take better care of my health. You know what, man, I got to start weeding out these bad thoughts in my mind. You know what, man, I got to start looking inside my soul and removing the darkness within my own heart before I start condemning that which is in others. That just makes a whole lot of sense. In fact, you know what? If you start putting all your effort onto yourself and the things that you can control and the things that you can make a difference, you know what? You start getting a magnanimous opportunity. And you know what's really interesting? What I have found in life is that the people who are the greatest at what they do oftentimes suffered the most or had the worst circumstances, because the worse the circumstances they are, the more challenging that they are, hones the mind. It hones the skills. It hones the focus. And you got to take that practice of honing that focus and transcend that situation step by step. Instead of throwing bricks, you got to stack them on yourself and build yourself a house of strength and fortitude and connectedness with your creator, that nothing can shake it, that you can stand amidst the crash of breaking worlds and remain unshaken, remain calm, and remain an inspiration and a light in your community, and a voice that makes a difference, and someone that can offer somebody a helping hand, not holding people as a victim or a perpetrator. That's going to get us nowhere. And I am sick and tired of these people and the narratives in the media that is creating this division in our political environment, that is making us condemn the people who are doing the best that they can to lead us, that are condemning the people who are protecting us in the streets. And they're not focusing on what the real issue is. There's something fishy going on, and we're going to get away from that. You need to question everything that you see. You need to question these things that are going on. But more importantly, you need to focus on self-development. You need to focus on upping your skills. You need to focus on your evolution. And if you don't have a job right now, if you're uncertain about your economic future, if your health is struggling right now, guess what? These things, COVID, this financial crisis, these things that are taking people, you got to use these examples to say, you know what? I need to upgrade my game. I need to get a plan. Come to the Prosperity and Health Alliance. Come to the person that gave you this video. Share this with those people and say, hey, man, do you got something I can do? Because I'm tired of being a victim, and I want to win in life. I want to be a victor in life. I want to spread the good news and to spread the opportunity and spread the wins around the world. I'm tired of being told that I'm a victim. I'm tired of telling me that there's someone that's keeping me down. I'm tired of being tired. I'm tired of not taking ownership of my life and accountability of my life. I'm tired of being fat. I'm tired of being broke. I'm tired of being spiritually bankrupt, and I'm going to do something about it and make a difference about it. That's what you need to do. So if anybody has any questions, reach out to me. I'll take a phone call. I'll take an email. I'll take a text message on this stuff, or the people that send this to you. Get connected with them and create opportunity, unity, and community. Those are the three things that we need that is going to transcend this and move us from a divided race into the human race. And I am tired of all this division. I'm tired of buying into this stuff. And you know what? I am excited that more and more people are going to wake up to this. And the more they try and push us down, and the more they try to condemn the division and inspire that division, the more that we have an opportunity to rise up above it. And I'm going to encourage every single person that's watching this to look in the mirror tomorrow morning or tonight or to this evening and have the tough conversations with your family members. If you got problems in your relationship, deal with it. If you got problems with your kids, deal with it. If you got problems in your business, deal with it. Open up a conversation, not of condemnation, but of communication, and create opportunity, unity, community. And you'll find out that, guess what? We are all connected by the same things, the same wants, the same goals, the same challenges, the same fears, the same frustrations. We are more like each other than we are divided amongst each other. Don't let people focus on the differences. What we need to focus is on the similarities, and you'll find out quickly that we're more similar than anything else, and that we all want a better place. We all want to have a world where people are living like Martin Luther King envisioned in A Night of Dream. I have that dream. I'm carrying on that dream. I have that vision, and I'm looking to connect with as many people as possible that has that same vision. So give a like, give a shout, give a share, give a comment, do whatever you need to do, and come back here next Monday night, because I've got a plan for you and the people who are suffering out there. I can't wait to see you. I'm Wade T. Lightheart for the Prosperity and Health Alliance. We'll see you next week, next time, next year, whatever it happens to be. I'm here, and I'll continue to be here just like I've been for the last few years, in order to send this message out there and tell you, you have greater things inside of you. You have powers that are untapped. The challenges in your life are invitations from divinity to discover the greatness within you. And I'm looking forward to see you rise and shine and share your message, your vision, your goals, your dreams, your gifts to the world in general, and to find that inspirational place that everybody will be able to celebrate, not to celebrate as you as an individual, but to celebrate for all of humanity, because all boats rise together as we share together with opportunity, unity, and community. Wade T. Lightheart, Prosperity Health Alliance. Take care. I love you all. We'll see you next week.